Hello again, our venture Pratika. In the previous videos, we built our business model canvas, our value proposition, and our experiments, step by step, with FounderScope's help. But you don't have to do this alone. Today we'll meet the companion that knows your startup as well as you do. Copilot. What makes Copilot special is this. On every message, it sees your real workspace. Pratika's business model canvas, its customer segments, its experiments, its financials. So when you ask it something, you don't get a generic answer. You get a response tailored to your own startup. That's what sets it apart from an ordinary chat window. Copilot works in 3 ways. Chat, where you ask something and get an instant answer and action. Co-work, where you give a goal and Copilot plans the steps and runs them with your approval. And insights, where, without you asking, Copilot proactively brings you what matters. Let's see all 3 in order, through Pratika. We're in the Chat tab. Here you see ready-made starter cards. Analyze my business model, create an experiment, prepare a persona. But don't miss the most important point. These cards are just a quick start. The real power is here, in the box below. You can ask or tell Copilot anything in your own words. You're not limited to these cards. Let's show that. We'll type our own question into the box. We type our own sentence into the box, analyze my business model, and show my weakest, riskiest point. And we send it. And it began. Notice this. Copilot isn't writing at random. First, it runs a tool that inspects your workspace. That step indicator shows this. Then it reads Pratika's context of tens of thousands of words, every canvas, every experiment. That's why the answer takes a few seconds. But this wait is proof of the value, because what you get is not a ready-made tip from the internet, but an analysis written for your startup's actual situation. And here's the answer, speaking entirely about Pratika. It points to our riskiest gap and explains why, with concrete reasons drawn from our own data. Now let's pause for a moment. Seeing this many gaps shouldn't alarm you. It's completely normal. Because Pratika is still at the very beginning. That's exactly the purpose of FounderScope. Not to assume our idea is perfect from the start, but to strengthen it step by step with evidence. Copilot shows us which gap is most critical. As we complete each experiment and validate each assumption, this analysis will evolve with us, and our startup will mature. So, do we just take an answer and leave it? No. Copilot doesn't only talk, it also does the work. For the judgment fear assumption the analysis points to, let's ask it to create a customer interview experiment. Again, we type into the box ourselves. Copilot now takes this assumption and designs an experiment suited to it. It writes the experiment's name, the belief it will test, and the success metric itself. Fully consistent with the analysis we just did. A customer interview experiment about the fear of being judged. In a few seconds, it prepares its proposal. And here's the most critical point. Copilot did not create the experiment directly. First, it asks me for approval, because before making any permanent change, it always gets your permission. I click the Approve button, and a ready experiment form appears. At the top, we choose which assumption to link the experiment to. We type into the search box and select our judgment-free feedback value proposition. Every other field, Copilot filled in itself from the data it analyzed. It wrote a belief statement. It put the assumption we're testing into a sentence. As the test method it chose, exactly as we wanted, the customer interview. Below, there's a measurable success metric and a success criterion. It clearly defined when the experiment counts as successful. And at the bottom, it marked our initial confidence score. Truly great. Perfectly aligned with the analysis and with the experiment we built by hand in the previous video. I click Create Experiment. And this experiment is really added to Pratika's experiment lab. The experiment we built in minutes in the previous video, Copilot prepared and saved for us in seconds. Chat was one question at a time. Now let's move to a far more powerful mode, co-work. The logic here is this. You write a goal. Copilot breaks it into a multi-step plan and runs the steps one by one. And here too, the ready-made goals are just a start. You can type your own goal into the box below. One of the most valuable things we can do for Pratika right now is to talk to customers. So that's exactly what we'll have co-work do. There are ready goal cards here too. But again, we'll type our own goal into the box. First, analyze my workspace, then create a detailed persona for each of my customer segments, then prepare a separate interview script for each persona. And we send it. And here's the power of co-work. We wrote a single sentence, but Copilot broke it into a multi-step plan on its own and is now running the steps one by one. We watch it live. First, it analyzes the workspace from scratch. Then it will produce a separate persona for each customer segment, and after that, a dedicated interview script for each persona. You see every step in real time, its status changing. You only stated the goal. Copilot planned and executed the entire workflow itself. This can take a few minutes, so let's wait for it to finish. And the task is complete. Copilot turned it into a 5-step plan and ran each one itself. First, it analyzed the workspace. Then it produced separate personas for 2 customer segments. And after that, dedicated interview scripts for each. Now let's step into these one by one and see, in full, what Copilot actually produced for Pratika. Step 1. Workspace analysis. When we click View All, what Copilot found opens up. On the Summary tab, it gave Pratika a maturity score and says it's early stage. The foundation needs strengthening. Let's move to the Strengths tab. Here, Copilot lists what's working. On the Improvements tab, it lays out the gaps. First among them, that customer interviews haven't been done yet. And on the Actions tab is the most valuable part, concrete to-dos. Complete the customer interviews with student and professional participants. So Copilot doesn't just state the problem, it gives you the next step too. Step 2. The first persona for the university student segment. When we click View All, we see what Copilot crafted for them. At the top are their goals: regular speaking practice, correcting pronunciation, preparing for a presentation or interview. Let's scroll down a bit. Their gains and pains are here. And one of the most striking pains: fearing being judged when making a mistake in front of others. Notice, this pain is exactly the hypothesis of the experiment we just created in chat. Copilot is genuinely weaving Pratika's story consistently. In Step 3, it produced the second persona, a busy working professional. Their world is different. Their goals include quick practice in short breaks during the day, rehearsing phrases aloud before meetings. When we scroll down, we see their pain, constantly postponing practice because of a fixed schedule. 2 segments, 2 entirely different need maps, and Copilot drew both from Pratika's own data. Step 4. The most concrete output, the interview script. For the university student, Copilot prepared a problem discovery interview guide of dozens of questions. At the top, there's a ready opening script you can read verbatim. Let's scroll down. It also added interview tips. Don't fear silence. Don't be leading. Further down, the questions one by one, each with its purpose written out. In other words, a document ready enough to go into the field tomorrow and run an interview. The 5th and final step, a separate interview script for the working professional. Here, Copilot changed the language and examples to that segment's world. It goes through the work environment, meetings, daily busyness. So we're not asking both segments the same questions. We have a dedicated guide tailored to each one. Now let's step back and look at the value. Pratika's biggest gap was talking to customers. Co-work closed exactly that gap. 2 real personas and over 30 ready interview questions. Work that would take a founder hours on their own, Copilot did in a few minutes and grounded it in Pratika's own data. You only stated the goal. The last tab, Insights. So far, we've always asked Copilot something. Here the direction reverses. Without you asking anything, Copilot scans Pratika's entire state itself and brings the points it deems important to your attention. Let's start an analysis. I press refresh and Copilot scans Pratika from top to bottom. Within a few seconds, it will produce insights by priority: critical, high, medium. These aren't random tips. They're prioritized, proactive alerts, pointing to risks you've overlooked and the next logical step. Like a co-founder telling you in the morning what you should pay attention to. These 3 modes we've seen are only the beginning. Behind Copilot are more than 40 tools: canvas creation, personas and interview scripts, financial health analysis, competitor benchmarking, investor readiness scoring, even integrations with external services like Google Ads, Notion, and Slack. All working by a single rule. Before making any permanent change, always your approval. In short, Copilot is a co-founder that knows Pratika as well as you do. With chat, it answers your questions and does the work. With co-work, it takes on big goals. And with insights, it keeps you one step ahead. And the final say always stays with you. You're no longer running your startup alone. See you in the next video.